is a sickness that the Prophet ﷺ warned us about more than 1400 years ago. In a very, very profound hadith, he says to his companions, there will come a day, your enemies will soon gather one another to attack you, like people gather one another to eat from their dish, to share from their dish. And they asked, is it going to be because we're weak in number or small in number? And he says, no, you will not be small in number. In fact, you will be large in number. But you will become like the froth on the ocean. You know, just those little, the bubbles, the froth, the scum that happens, that builds on top of the waves. It doesn't have any weight. It goes wherever the tide takes it. And he says that the fear will be taken out of the hearts of your enemies, and in your hearts will be put a disease, something called wahan. And they asked him, what is wahan? And he defined it as hubb ad-dunya wa karahiyatul maut. It is the love of dunya. Now the reason why this hadith is literally prophecy is because it describes the weakness that will come to our ummah. And he says the enemies will gather one another to attack you. And these attacks that we're seeing right now, they're all different forms. In some places in the world, they're physical, and in some places, they are spiritual, mental, psychological. Islamophobia is a machine. These are the types of attacks that we are seeing right now. You know, it's become cool. It's become acceptable. In fact, it has become something that will give you political capital to attack Islam and Muslims. It has become an acceptable social capital type of bigotry. The Prophet ﷺ diagnosed this issue. He said, "Hubb ad-dunya wa karahiyatul maut." The love of dunya is a disease that's going to make us politically weak. That's what this hadith is saying. It's a disease, but what kind of disease is it? It's a spiritual disease. What is hubb ad-dunya? The love of this life. What does it mean to love dunya? What does it mean to love dunya? Does it mean that we're not allowed to have nice things? Does it mean we're not allowed to have jobs and get married and have nice houses? Of course we can. In fact, there were many companions who were extremely wealthy. But the problem is that the dunya has taken over our hearts. Hubb ad-dunya becomes a disease when you don't own your stuff owns you. You don't own your money owns you. You don't own your status owns you. You don't own your power owns you. And what is the cure for these diseases? Well, the first disease of hubb ad-dunya. The disease of hubb ad-dunya is to refocus on the final home. I mentioned this earlier. Every single one of us are moving. And anyone who's ever moved before knows that in order to move, you have to furnish the home you're moving to. You have to prepare it. Every single person is moving into their grave. And that's without a shadow of a doubt. But the question is, have you furnished that home? Some of us are going to get to that home and it's going to have no furniture. Some of us are going to get to that home and in fact it's going to have been burnt down. And so the question becomes not whether or not we're moving, it's how does our home look once we get there? And so the cure to hubb ad-dunya is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu taqullaha wal tandur nafsum ma qaddamat lighad wattaqullah. O you who have believed, have taqwa of Allah, be conscious of Allah, and let everyone know, let everyone be aware of what they're putting forth for tomorrow. Plan for that home because you're going there. The question is only how furnished will it be? What condition will that home be in when you arrive? The cure to حب الدنيا is to shift your focus back to the final tomorrow and to have some plan for that.